大家好，我是 Chris 老师，欢迎今天到 English with Chris。我今天特别邀请一个好朋友 T 老师来跟我们分享他游学团的经验。所以我们要开始，就是先请问 T，跟我们分享一下，他教学经验是什么？What do you do here in Taiwan?
Hey, so what's up, guys? I'm Teacher T. I've been in Taiwan for about 11 years, and I've been teaching. So I love teaching. I love the interaction with students and seeing them grow. So that's what I've been doing. But besides teaching, I'm a busybody. I like to go look for new things and new challenges in life.
Right.
And one of it is traveling. I love to travel. I love to have fun.
Right.
So I've been.
And I've known you. Ever since I've known you, you've loved traveling.
Yeah, but I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I find pleasure in seeing people laugh, have fun, and feeling relaxed. Like there's so much stress in life already, and so much pressure going on around you. So like if I can give a little bit of joy to people around me, and that's my job well done.
Absolutely, and it's a lot of fun to enjoy experiences together with your students. So it's not just about work, but it's about experiencing life together through relationships.
Yeah.
Right? So, and this is some of the unique factors. Normally when people think of a 游学团, they think of some of the big companies that 办这些的活动.
No, that's right. Yeah.
And so they have maybe programs they run in many different countries. But you're from Canada, so the great thing is you have your own family connections and your friends in Canada and overseas. How did you get started doing this? I know it's a huge undertaking to win that kind of trust. So maybe we can start by just asking you, what inspired you to want to even do something like this?
See, the funny thing, Chris, is like if I had sat down and like worked out all the details and think of all the possibility of what could go wrong, I would not do this.
I think that's my problem.
No, like seriously. But luckily, sometimes I like to take a risk, like calculate a risk.
Think about it. You're taking people's children to another country. That's a huge responsibility, and that's always kind of scared me away from doing that.
Talk about the responsibility and the pressure and stress, but there's a fine balance. And if you kind of manage the group properly and you have a system that you follow,
right,
it could work like clockworks. And everyone grows, everyone learns something. And, at that point, when you push people to a little bit more beyond the comfort zone, that's where growth happens. And I love to see that transition of like being so comfortable to being uncomfortable to thriving to being that is part of my life now.
I was a little skeptical at first when you shared this idea with me years ago. I'm like, T, do you really know what you're getting into? And is that really possible? But yet, of course, I wanted you to succeed at that. But I was thinking all the challenges and the organization, and I had tried myself once, and I just thought, this is too much, this is too hard. But I was impressed that you persevered. You've done this now consecutively, and the results have been incredible. And I was really impressed. So I wouldn't just invite you on here if I thought you were just doing a mediocre job. I was like, wow.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was like, what you are giving these students in this experience is phenomenal. And so I wanted you to definitely come on here and share some of those experiences today and what you've learned from it, because I think the parents can really benefit from learning about this.
Absolutely. Sometimes I would think to myself, what's the shalama? Like, why would I take on this crazy thing when I can be so comfortable? 我想什么？我是有点我有点
梦想太大
了。对。然后后来我发现，我觉得I just thought this is an opportunity for students of mine that they would not be able to get anywhere else.
Right.
The summer camp is very customized and personalized because I know these students personally.
Right.
So I could kind of gauge where they're at and how to challenge them and what they could improve upon.
Right.
Upon their character, upon their what they take as for granted living in Taiwan.
Right.
So when you kind of like just help them push them forward in that area, you see such like amazing growth. the good results that you were talking about is actually not from me or from the camp itself. It's from the parents and the students. You don't really totally see it, but you see it in their action, their behavior, and parents will be like, how come they can do this by themselves now? They're more independent, and they realize that, and then they can speak English a little bit more casually, freely, without much hiccup than before. So the confidence level just went up to another level.
Well, I hear a lot from parents, and I would have this question myself too, but I hear also from my students that one of the things they feel that they lack opportunity to do is to develop independence within themselves. And so what you're talking about, the development of that independence, and how does is a short-term experience kind of build that character, that quality character? So we want independence to definitely be something that makes them more mature, that makes them more self-confident, and makes them develop a love of learning. Not just English, right? But you were describing character, real-world skills, life experiences, relationships with friends, how to deal with conflict, and all of those things. So, yeah.
This is a Chinese saying, 罗马不是一天造成的. So the thing is like, a lot of parents have certain expectations.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
That's right. Thanks for the translation. Google Translate. So
I try.
I truly believe as an educator and majoring and studying to be a teacher, I just realized it's just really hard to kind of force feed someone something that they don't want.
Yeah, it is.
Here a lot of time.
I'm like that with stinky tofu.
No one's gonna force feed me that, bro.
It's happened.
It happened. I'm sorry, buddy. But it's delicious. Come on.
I survived.
Stinky tofu is great. But as you're saying, you want to instill a lifelong love of education. You want to instill this part into them rather than like say, hey, you should do this, you should do that. You kind of teach and help them develop a skill where they can develop for themselves. Rather than like, and I think with this short-term 3-week thing, a lot of things you can't do in 3 weeks.
Right.
But some things like inspiration from experience, from that one moment in life, that can change your life onwards forever.
Right.
That little switch, when it turns on, honestly, that might be just enough to make the 21 days, 3 weeks worth it. Because from that moment on, that person is not the same anymore.
Right.
Because of that, through that inspiration and through that kind of experience that they've had in another country with other students in another culture. So, I think with these summer camps,
a life-changing experience is what you're after.
Life-changing experience, or just getting out their comfort zone to see something different, to pump their creative juices in their head.
Yes, definitely.
So, and that's what summer camp's all about.
This is hardcore hands-on learning, right?
It is. Honestly, growing up.
Growing up, yes.
Growing up, all the memories I've had were at camps. Those are the fond memories, those memories that were so fun. The connection you make with people, the culture exchanges, and the things that you would not normally do in a classroom base.
Right.
At a school. You just can't do it.
Right.
So when you're at a camp, I think things are just a little bit more relaxed, low-key, so to speak. It's not as formal. And so you could express yourself in a different way.
Right.
You can think differently. You can speak freely without a lot of the barrier that hinders you when you're at school. The fear of making mistakes. The fear of people looking at you funny.
Right.
But when you're at camp, everyone looks funny. Everyone stinks.
Right. And it seems like in a foreign culture, if you go to somewhere like Canada, you don't have those opportunities to be shy and hide in your shell. And I think sometimes students who are insecure and lack confidence in the ability to speak English are going to sometimes be too shy to approach a foreigner and ask a question like, where's the bathroom? How do I get to the bus station? And maybe that in that situation, now they need to, because other kids who are more outgoing and not so shy are curious about them because they're from Taiwan, right?
Right.
So it seems really important that they have interaction with the local culture, because I think one of the problems with a lot of camps is it's a tour where they're all together, they're never interacting with the local culture.
Sure.
And I think that kind of robs the whole investment of its beauty. So
That's right.
how do you prevent that from happening?
So here's the thing, like if a student wants to be shy, wants to be, antisocial, they can.
Right.
But as someone who organizes and the program, you gotta set up where they have the least opportunity to do that.
Right.
So you set them up with activities that are just fun, things that they're doing without thinking too much, and they're interacting at the same time.
Right.
So if you plan the program properly, where you see the weaknesses of certain students, and you allow them to express themselves in that way. So from there on, the confidence built. Then they're ready to go to the next activity, next challenge. So when that happens, they just flourish, so to speak. They'll take on the task, and then they'll just jump with it and run with it.
So how good does their English have to be to join one of these 游水团? So I think one of the parents' concerns is they want to definitely instill a love for learning early on so that it'll accelerate their desire to learn as they set goals in studying English. But if they is there a right time to do it? Because if they start too early and they still can't make simple sentences, and they go to a foreign country, it's going to be really hard for them to make friends, maybe, and communicate unless they have a very outgoing personality.
Right.
So how do you? What would you recommend parents in those regards?
Chris, I must say that's one of the top questions a lot of parents ask me. The parents are like, oh, when is a good time? When is a good time for them to go? Because if they're too young, they might not be able to take care of themselves.
Right. Yes.
I had a parent telling me, oh, I really want my son to join this tour, but he can't even take a shower by himself. And then I'm like, parent, I'm sorry, I'm not going to shower for you. I'm not having your kid showered.
There are certain things we do not do.
No, that's not part of my job description. Okay, I don't have kids shower. They do this themselves. So having said that, that kid unfortunately didn't join, but he has expressed that maybe when he's a little bit older, he would love to join.
Right.
So having said that, it all depends. It depends on how comfortable the parent is for the child to come with me. But I think at an optimal age level would probably be grade 4 and above.
Okay.
And
fourth grade?
Fourth grade and above.
Okay, not 4 years old.
Not 4 years old. Oh, no. Grade 4, all the way to maybe junior high school, even high school.
Right.
I mean, depends on what they want out of it.
Right.
So, you could go to summer camps multiple times. I got a couple of students of mine went summer camp twice already, and she's only in grade 3. So she went with me in grade 2 and went with me in grade 3. They have different experiences.
Okay.
As they go in different age. When you're younger, you might be like, you might not have a lot of fear.
Right.
Because you're just having fun. Everyone's be a goofball anyways.
Yes.
But as you get older and when you get to junior high school, the fear all kicks in. How do I look? The self-esteem thing.
Yes.
And how do I feel about talking to this person?
They're
I
still
sound
building their personalities and all
exactly.
those things, right? Yeah.
So of course, there's a time and place for everything. When you're young, you can go, you could experience, and you should be like, hey, English is not hard. English is it's a way to communicate. It's just a tool.
Right.
So as you get older, you realize you have a little bit more life experience. You might get embarrassed for certain things. But of course, you can prepare yourself for these things.
It sounds like leading up to the summer camp, you go through a long process of educating the families and the parents about these protocols, so that they can also have peace of mind and understand that they're leaving their children in good hands.
Absolutely. We do have
and they have to probably be pretty convinced about that, right?
Sure. A lot of parents who signed up, I tell them to come for, and students, I tell them to come for pre-camp orientations.
Right.
So what pre-camp orientation is a class that I set up for them to educate them on the transition from Taiwan to Canada.
Okay.
Just so there won't be such a big shock. There will be a shock, no doubt about that. There's a culture shock when I came to Taiwan.
Right.
It was so when the Taiwanese students go to Canada, there's going to be a cultural shock.
Right.
So basically, this pre-camp orientation, I prep them. What are you going to expect? What can you say? What can you not say?
Right.
and what are you going to be eating, how are you going to be living, what are you going to be doing by yourself. You're going to take care of yourself.
Right.
You're going to take a shower, fold your clothes, all those sort of things. So life skills that they need to keep in mind before they go.
Right. So I think 游学团投资很大. It's a big investment, right? So I hear a lot of parents say, 游学团 is for rich kids. Is that really true?
No.
Okay.
But the initial cost of going to 游学团, it's immense. Not everyone can afford it.
Right.
But
can you give us an estimate? What would it like a 1 month, 3 week, 1 month,
3 week program
price cost?
Right. Three week program goes from maybe 165,000 to about 180,000.
Yeah.
Depends on the program, depends on the time. But if you think about in terms of its overall investment,
right?
If you break it down to many years,
yes,
it's not much. Because you spend yearly expense for education in Taiwan for English education, it's almost the same like that.
Right.
It's almost as much.
Right. And so what you're doing is giving these kids a very enriching experience with the local culture in a controlled environment where they have a very positive experience that enriches many aspects of their life. And that's what I really love about the Yo Shui Tuan concept. So when we're talking about investment, what are the long-term benefits? Because you kind of brought that up a little bit there. And I think parents will be a little hesitant to participate in something like this unless they're genuinely convinced that it is going to really benefit their child's long-term education.
Right.
And maybe they'll only do it once because of the cost.
Right.
So some families honestly can't afford to go every summer to do that. Some can. But of course, I'm sure those who can go every summer will have more opportunity to experience that independence and to keep building on that. But even one time, I think you want it to be a life-changing experience for the student. And the key point for me as an educator and also as a parent, what I want to know is it going to impact their long-term learning? How will it do that? And can you give us maybe some examples of how this is going to impact their long-term learning? Because obviously, I'm assuming as a teacher, this is why you're doing it.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I find this great joy in seeing a lot of my students grow. I find that it's most satisfying work, meaningful work that I can partake in this world. Honestly, there's so many things I could do, but when you're interacting with people, students, families, it goes beyond the money figure. It goes beyond selling a product.
Right.
It's life changing, so to speak. It sounds kind of a cliche. Oh, it could change your life, but it actually does. The thing about that is the students who go on these trips, they get this full immersion, like a full English immersion where they won't be able to speak Chinese, but of course they are going to be used to speaking Chinese. It's going to be hard for them at the beginning to just completely switch mode from Chinese to English. At first, I would allow a little bit of Chinese because hey, they're uncomfortable already. Going to a new culture, going to a new country without family, without without mom and dad taking care of them with about everything.
Right.
So I would allow that, but once they go to the summer camp, oh boy, you're interacting with the local Canadians. They don't speak Chinese.
Right.
And I kind of put them into different groups, so they are not going to be able to speak Chinese with their group that they go with.
And I'm sure one of the key factors is they're interacting with kids who are youth. They're young, similar to them.
Absolutely.
Not just a bunch of adults that have totally different interests.
Right. So when a student talks to me, it's a little bit different when they're talking to the peers.
Right.
And then the peers are speaking English. So they're like, oh yeah, it's not that hard.
那你为什么会说有一些普通话？
看着我，我是有点华人嘛。
You didn't grow up here, right?
No.
没有在这边长大。
不在这边长大，我
在加拿大长大。
在加拿大长大，那时候这样长大，我就想说，我是华人嘛，所以我也是会讲广东话跟潮州话。 So I spoke multiple languages. But I
So
didn't.
that helps hearing that growing up, I'm sure.
Sure, absolutely. So like I would speak English to my mom, and mom would speak Chinese to me, and be like, hey, that's how it works. And then eventually my mom started speaking English too, and then I speak Chinese to her.
Right.
This is kind of funny. So I just wanted to learn Mandarin, because I feel like 我是华人，我觉得也是要学一点吧。
Right.
所以我就来到台湾，然后刚开始也是不会讲什么。就会讲谢谢，不好意思，然后有时候
多少钱
多少钱都不会。刚开始我想要吃那个牛排嘛，然后我也不会讲牛，所以我要比较话，所以你知道我在做什么吗？没错，好丢脸哦！那时候我就是跟那老板说
I want this.
我就跟老板说我要吃他才知道。好丢脸，but 然后
That's how you learn a language, though.
Right.
Right?
That's how I got it, and then I got to eat my beef, So I had my steak, so I was really happy.
So going back to what we talked about earlier about the investment of Yo Shui Tuan, I think that as a teacher, I've seen so many students over the years have maybe up to 10 years of English education, but they still have not developed the ability to speak the language. It breaks my heart to see students invest so much time and so much money to learn a language over such a long period of time and still not be able to speak.
Yeah.
I would hate English if I were them.
Sure.
And I think that that's what happens, and this opens the door for these kids to fall in love with learning and to fall in love with the language. You said ownership. So I think ownership would be like a monstrous word here. Let the kids feel this is my language
变成
too.
自己的语言。
Exactly. 不是第二个语言，
对，
是我的语言。
对。
Like Chinese is for them, they can also. So I see that with a lot of my students. They take ownership of the language, and when they see me, they don't hesitate to just tell me about their life, their day in English, and they get excited about it. And that's very rewarding as a teacher to see that in your students. All right, so T, tell us briefly what would a daily schedule look like for one of the Yo Shui Tuan activities for one day?
A typical day would look like this. I set them up to a couple of camps. Okay, one we get a half day camp, and then we do like a day tour to the local touristy places like Niagara Falls, CN Tower, go to the Blue Jays game.
Cool.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
And then the other part of it is like a full day overnight camp. So they have to stay at a camp, interact with the locals, sleep with the students, all in one of those like chalet, those like lodge houses.
Yes.
So that is a full day thing.
Right.
14-hour thing.
Right.
So like there's no dull time. So basically, when they're there for 21 days,
right.
There's no idle period.
Right. So T, thank you so much for coming today and bringing all this valuable information to our audience. And I hope we can have you come back again and talk more about this subject and others. Sounds good, huh?
Absolutely. I would love to come back. Thank you so much for inviting me to join your video, and it's my pleasure.
Yeah, and we want to encourage everyone who's watching to please leave your questions and comments in the section below.